In this video, I'm going to be talking about the different incrementality measurement approaches. And I have talked about incrementality in the past in my previous videos. You can check them out on the YouTube channel. I've also shared a couple of templates that I'm going to share again in this particular video as well. But before jumping into those, I just want to talk about a more general overarching idea, and that is to give you a panoramic view of what we are talking about. And this will be very useful for especially those who are somewhat uninitiated to the concept, somewhat new to the concept, or even for advanced practitioners who want to get a refresher on the different approaches to approaching incrementality measurement. Now, what do we mean by incrementality, first of all? So by that, we simply mean when we spend a dollar on a particular platform, what is the additional revenue that we are getting from that additional dollar spent from that platform. So specifically for different channels, how much incremental revenue is getting generated. And you can see that we can map the different incrementality measurement approaches across the x and y axis, taking effort on the x-axis and accuracy on the y-axis. So as effort is increasing, we can see that there's also an increase in accuracy. So meaning that as we move from the approaches like ad hoc measurement, then to lift tests, and then finally to advanced models, it's true that it's taking more effort. So it's basically a sign that there's more complexity that's getting added to the system, but at the same time there's more accuracy. So if you have to, if you want to avoid the hassle of more complex implementations, then you will have to compromise on the accuracy. So there is a trade-off here. So let's look at these one by one. Let's look at lift tests first. And in lift tests, we have an exposed group and a control group. The exposed group is which is going to be exposed to the ad, and the simplest form of that is the platform audience holdout. So within the same platform, you can have a randomized split of your audience, target audience, between an exposed group and a control group, and the exposed group is the one which will be seeing the ads and the control group won't be seeing the ads. And then you will be comparing the outcome metrics, for instance sales or revenue or conversion rate, whatever it is, between these two groups. So this is a relatively inexpensive method, and it's very easy to implement as well. And we can actually see this diagrammatically. So this is the campaign audience which has been split randomly by the platform, and we have a holdout group and a test group. Test group is the one which has been exposed to the message. Then we can have a creative lift, or something called a PSA test, which is like a public service announcement. So essentially you are exposing one group to your ad, and the other group is being exposed to just a generic ad, which is not at all having anything to do with your brand ad. And then you just compare the lift in sales from the creative that you had shown to your test group. And so this has the advantage that it provides a clean understanding of the incremental effect of the ad content, and it can work across various channels. They tend to be more expensive compared to platform audience holdout, and that's because there is the cost of test inventory. But at the same time, there's also clearer understanding on the incremental effect of the ad content. So you can understand it at the level of the creative as to what is working and what is not. And then you also have a geographic lift or a matched market test. So this is where you try to find out markets which are comparable in some way or the other. And usually that's done by, say for instance, if they have very similar sales patterns during the same periods of the year. So that's usually a good marker of matched market. I mean, that's often considered as one. So therefore what happens in this case is that one of those will be exposed to the ads, and the other will be will be treated as a holdout region. And then the difference between the control and the exposed group will be will basically give an idea of the incrementality. So this you can see is basically from Meta's GeoLift test. The difference between the exposure and the test group has actually been plotted here in this graph. When it's actually not feasible to run a lift test with a 50-50 audience split, something like a pulse test can be done. So when the split is not really possible, because the split actually comes with a lot of disadvantages, you do understand that it can have the cost, a significant cost for not actually serving ads to the holdout region. So this is important, because when you're not serving ads to the holdout region, you're potentially losing out customers there, because you are expecting some incrementality, at least from any channel, right? Even before the test has been done. In case it happens that there is absolutely no incrementality, then you're not going to lose out anything. But there's a high chance, some channel might have that incrementality. Probably you're trying to understand the level of incrementality, so you're going to lose out money as you run the test. Also, these tests tend to be longer, and the very bifurcation and identification of geographies based on similarity characteristics, this can require work by data scientists, or at least advanced data analytics measures. So you have to calculate or achieve statistical significance before you can conclude anything, and that can be significantly expensive, because reaching statistical significance can take quite a while in most cases. So when such an expensive setup is actually not possible, you can do what's called a pulse test. So a pulse test is basically a type of lift test where the marketing touchpoint is periodically turned off, and the impact is measured before turning it back on and comparing the results. So it simply means that there is no split here. It's just on your existing entire campaign, you just turn it off, the marketing touchpoint, whatever the campaign is, the marketing initiative is, keep it turned off for a while, and then you turn back on, and then you just do a before-after analysis. Okay, and if I just show you an example of what I have shared before in terms of a template, this is actually what is a before-after analysis. Here, it's not entirely turned off, but what has been done is there's been a significant increase in Facebook ad spend, 137% increase in this case. And then we have gone ahead and tested the impact on the gross sales, the new customer sales, the returning customer sales, orders, and all of that. And we have also done a regression analysis taking into account the combined effect along with other channels where there was no such significant increase, and no such deliberate significant increase. So this is in a sense a pulse test, because this is a before-after analysis rather than a simultaneous a split in the audience. Okay, so this template has already been created by me. I've shared in the past. If you are interested, do let me know. And then we can actually move on to ad hoc measurement. So this is a relatively less complicated system. This does not have involvement of any advanced statistics. This simply involves post-conversion, post-purchase surveys. You can ask the customers after they have completed a purchase. This can be done, for instance, if there's a Shopify site. There are some applications, Shopify plugins that you can use, or apps that can be used to ask customers through a survey what channel they said, they became aware about the website and the product. Now, the only problem here is that there might be biases or errors or recall issues, as has been mentioned here. And while they're quick and easy to implement, the accuracy level may not be very good. And that's what was discussed here as well through this graph. The effort and the complexity is low. The costs are often low, because sometimes, in most cases, we see that complexity and time are directly correlated with costs. It's cost effective, it's not expensive, but it's not necessarily very highly accurate, because the customers may not give you the right information. They might not, it's not necessarily is a deliberate mistake. Why would they? In general, they wouldn't, but at the same time, they might simply not recall, especially if the sales cycles are longer. There you go. Like has been mentioned here, longer consideration cycles, in such cases, we see post-conversion surveys being not as accurate. Then you can have link tracking. You can actually go ahead and create separate links for each of the channels, for each of the touch points that you're trying to measure the incrementality of, and you can then track them separately, and therefore you will be able to check the performance from each of them separately. The problem is that this can again be expensive. You have to set up a lot of clicks, a lot of links, and um, you know, the problem is that if someone is not going to be using that specific URL for some reason, then it's not going to be trackable, right? So you might have loopholes in the tracking. The final one is again promo codes, and just like link tracking, this specific promo codes may not be used. So you might have promo codes set up separately for each channel, but the users may not be using those promo codes. Even if you have advertised those promo codes, just to ensure that you are able to track the sales separately from each channel. You have separate loyalty codes or promo codes, but the users may not always remember. So suppose you have the promo code on the website, even on in the ads you have given that, and you have said that use this promo code to get such and such discount. A lot of people might still not remember those promo codes and might miss out, and so you will not be able to accurately attribute the sale to the right channel from where the traffic was originating. And so that is a lot of the methods. I showed the incrementality template. This is the before after one. There's a lot of regression analysis here trying to understand the incremental lift basically, and whether or not that is statistically significant compared to the other channels. The other thing that you can do is look at holdout incrementality testing. So this is where this 50-50 split has been done, where 50% of the audience, 50,000 people here in this case, they were withheld from being shown the ads, and then we have calculated the lift and the statistical significance corresponding to that lift. So in this case, you can see that the lift at the p-value is actually statistically significant. In this case, it's not. So the ATC is statistically significant. The sales lift is not. So this is interesting, and you will have to just carry out this analysis in a piecemeal manner for each of these different events that you're tracking. That way, you will be able to arrive at a more accurate result. Then there is one last thing that I wanted to show. This is called the incrementality model value, and this is the idea for this is that you are basically calculating incrementality on the basis of first and last interaction conversions. This data can be obtained from GA4, and in GA4 you will have the attribution report, and attribution comparison report is going to give you the data for each of the channels for first and last interaction conversions, for instance. And then you're going to have to find the change, the difference between these two bubbles. So that's the delta percentage. So the difference divided by the last conversion as a percentage. And then you will also find out the percentage of spend. So you will obviously know how much is being spent on each channel. And then you're going to find out the potential spend improvement. Okay, and so that potential spend improvement is what is going to give you a better idea of the amount of incrementality that channel is possibly going to have. Okay, and this potential spend improvement, as you can see that this change percentage here, this is basically above 15%, right? In case of display, but the spend percentage is much lesser than a lot of other channels, and therefore the potential spend percentage is actually much lesser. On the other hand, a couple of other channels, for instance these two, even though the changes are not necessarily for instance this paid social here, the difference between these two is only 15%, but it only makes up it accounts for 30% of the channel spend, and therefore together these two make up 10% of the potential spend improvement. So this is another way of measuring incrementality. Personally speaking, I'm not a big fan of this process, but just wanted to make you aware that there are some simple approaches as well to measuring incrementality. Once again, the simpler the process, in 99% of the cases, the lesser is going to be the accuracy. So I hope you like this, and if you need further information, do get in touch with me, or just leave a comment below. I'll try to clarify your doubt.